Welcome to the 11 o'clock meeting with Public Works. I just didn't want to build your ego too high on.
I know.
Good morning. Mike Moss, Public Services Director. I had an 11 o'clock executive session scheduled. I moved that to 11:20, hearing from the last meeting, thinking you were going to start this meeting with executive session.
Did you want to start with?
Yeah, with your executive session first before ours, because I have Doug Jensen joining us at 11:20 for our executive session, knowing that you guys were already scheduling one ahead of us. So if you want to do the one that Commissioner Mortensen brought up first, before the meeting, then after the meeting, that works for us.
Yeah, my executive session is real estate, and it's just in the spirit of, here's a thought that I think we should consider, and that I could do that in 5 minutes. We
That involve Mike too?
Yes, it involves Mike.
So could it just, are you saying just follow Mike's session at 11:20?
We could do that. Yeah.
Do you have much of another agenda other than?
Yeah, I have a quite large agenda. I can bring it up to you now. So we can start there, then break away at 11:20.
Sure.
Since
How about that?
Mr. Jensen's going to join us.
Okay.
Okay.
I saw their signs on Mount Pleasant. We're gonna shut that down for, is that us doing some work?
Yeah, they're doing some drilling out there.
Yeah.
Getting ready for the tunnel down the road. It's only for, I think.
2 days, I think. Yeah.
It's back open. So usually we start off with building and planning, but I also told them to come up later because we're going to plan an executive session to start with. So we'll go ahead and jump into facilities maintenance and purchasing, if that's all right.
So if you don't have to share the mic, maybe you want to use that.
Sure.
That makes sense to you, Mr. Chairman?
Just as long as he gets out of the way of the maddening crush of the public.
Oh, that's true. Oh.
Don't want to get
Glasses
run
on
over.
here. So the first item we have is landscape agreement. Our current agreement with Northwest. Got it here, Northwest Environmental Landscape Services ends August 31st. We have an addendum or here for additional 1 year. We had some issues, I believe, at the very beginning with some of the landscape items around from all our campuses, but the last 9-10 months, I think they've done a really good job. I've reached out to some other departments. They've said the same thing. So in the contract, we have additional years available for extensions with no price increase. So we'd like to bring that to you guys next Tuesday on the agenda, extending the contract for 1 more year with Northwest Environmental Landscapes. And that cost is $55,230 for the year.
And is that going to include any management of the ivy that seems to be covering up parking signs?
Nominal. It is in here. I actually read through here today on the ivy. I should have highlighted that. Give me 1 second here.
And Will just walked in. Landscaping contract he's looking up.
Ivy planting beds shall be cut back at least once annually to control growth and promote plant health. Ivy shall be removed from all building wall exteriors, utility vaults, pads, transfers and equipment, fire hydrants and pathways. I know we did that a couple of years back on the HOJ with a separate contract. It's quite large. I think HOJ might be its own beast. I think we plan on doing that in-house with our public works crew. But the rest of the ivy around here, I think they already did some cutting between us and post office earlier in the contract, but probably not the last few months. So we can readdress that with them.
I mean, it's crawling up the
Yeah,
posts.
it goes so
Yeah,
fast.
it's-
Yeah, I've talked to Jennifer from Noxious Weeds about, she's actually sent me some items, pamphlets, how to control it better.
Oh,
It's called a blowtorch.
Exactly. That's pretty good root system. You gotta pretty much take it all the way out. And that's what we plan on doing at HOJ. We not just spraying it, but we plan on taking it. That's why we're bringing the skid steer in with our crews to take all the dirt out too, just excavate it completely.
So that's the Ivy technique of landscaping. You deal with it once every 20 years. Otherwise, any other kind of landscaping is a constant maintenance.
It is
thing, so,
constant, yeah. Yeah.
And I kind of get that from,
Last summer, we did it kind of with, before a contract was in place with summer help and other crews, and it is kind of a fiasco. So it's nice to have somebody under contract, so. And they have all the campuses, museum, HHS here, HOJ. So not all of them. There's a few, I think jail and juveniles, but maintain their own. So if you guys are okay with moving forward, I'll put it on the agenda next week.
This is a poor man's landscaping maintenance. Has nothing to do with upgrading anything.
Correct. Yep.
Just
Just maintaining what we currently have, no new tearing out no trees and maintenance of our, I know we have some issues around the building here, removing some of the older shrubbery and maybe some of the bricks and stuff like that.
It
Maybe
doesn't include
does
any of
not
that.
include that at all. No.
does it include fertilizers?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so
And actually, they're working on, they asked as a small addition, I mean, I'm talking hundreds of dollars to work on the museum's water system over there so they can keep their grass green. There's a couple heads that are broken and a line that's broken. So they've asked if they could replace that. And we said yes. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll add it next week. Since Tracy's here, if we want to, we can jump over to, building and planning items. We have quite a few, so if you want to, if you have 10 minutes. Yeah. If that's okay with the chairman. Sorry, I should have asked you first. I apologize.
I was gonna say, if you let me play on one of those hoses, I'd dig that ivy out of there for you.
Hand up, hand down, hand up. I didn't know if I'd make it up here in time. You switched it on me.
Well.
Commissioners, I just wanted to give you a quick update. We've got Building and Planning Advisory Committee this week on Thursday. Planning Commission is on Wednesday. They've got a larger agenda for Wednesday. Looking at a comp plan amendment for the Carlin Loop area. And then the floodplain management ordinance, the 1 foot, 3 foot base elevation is another discussion. Bringing back the private road standards, and then the boundary line adjustment, a draft idea of what an ordinance. We've been working with Doug. We've got Doug's weigh in now, so they're going to take his recommendations to the Planning Commission and see what transpires from that. International Way, we met with the Port of Longview last week. I mentioned the 6 rail lines coming in, and then one of the board members asked about the International Way crossing. We met with them this last week. They're still in design phase on that, and it's completely separate from the 6th line. So totally separate project. And that project completion date is scheduled for about 2029. So they've got a ways to go on that, but they're still in design phase, but they're now going to be releasing the latest mapping of what that new realignment looks like, and then working with the business owners that could be affected. So.
okay, comment on that. I've been contacted about that. I think probably all of you have. There seems to be concern by the businesses along industrial international way, and they're not quite sure they believe what they were seeing then. I don't know if that has changed, just to let us all know that there is citizen concern over that.
Okay. And the latest design just came out the end of last week. And they are going to meet with then the property owners from in the affected area between now and the end of the month. So they were letting us know they had the design plan, but we were not shown the total and final plan. So it's still in the works. We had our first stakeholders meeting with the city of Woodland. And that is the one where we're using the contract attorney that Doug helped us find. And I don't know that it was kind of a disarray meeting, shall we say. There was a lot of complaints about the city of Woodland, different studies that have been done in years past.
Whoa. Could you go more slowly on that?
There wasn't a lot that we could contribute in that meeting. There was a lot of the citizens that were there. They were just
Just the public in general.
the public in general. There was a lot of different agencies there, but the public in general just had a lot of concerns with some of the studies that Woodland has done in the past, and they said they're just studies. They're just studies. Well, they were heard. Woodland heard them. So we're gonna kind of sit back and let Woodland deal with some of their issues that, you know, we know the traffic study is going to be the biggest issue, and exit 21 is their largest ticket item. So we're working with CDID number 2 on their drainage study, and the Port of Woodland on some of their larger projects coming forward. So
This is the stakeholder meeting that's on the agenda.
yeah.
Okay.
And then I have another one. Savannah and we talked about a while ago, we worked with Commissioner Dahl. We had some ideas about low income housing, dollars for maybe some static fixed costs for income relevant citizens that could use the low income housing or the dock fees for static costs to get into homes, whether it be water costs, sewer costs, electrical hookups, kind of those static costs that they wouldn't have out of pocket expenses, and their income would qualify them for low income housing, to try to help make more affordable housing for lower income people. And we didn't know if the board wants us to kind of move forward with that. I know the board's been supporting different, like the senior housing idea concept with the city of Kelso. I was trying to think of some other ones that the city or you guys, the board funded Campus Towers or parts of it, of their project. So there's it seems like there's kind of 3 bigger ticket items, and I didn't know if the board wanted us to kind of continue to meet with and see what we could come up with. If you wanted us to pursue it, if you wanted us to look the other way, ignore it. Well, I didn't know what the board's direction would be. And I'll turn that over to Savannah. Did I capture?
So what's the scope here of what you're looking for on that?
Well, we had some, a few meetings with Health Department, Gina, Carol, Doug's office, about what we could use the dock recording fees and some of the low income affordable housing dollars for. We were looking at alternate ways or means that we could get people that met the income threshold, that we could get them into more affordable housing and pay some of their static costs.
So your road is permitting, planning
For my side of it, yes.
from your side.
Yeah.
So you're not speaking about that specifically, you're speaking about the general overall picture, which leaves me confused then as to why that's in your lap.
I was just going to chime in. So just to kind of give a timeline, and Commissioner Dahl more than welcome to cut me off too. When Commissioner Dahl first came on, there was some curiosity as far as how those dock recording fees were used, how could they be used, what other avenues could we pursue aside from maybe just getting the funding requests for the homeless camps and that topic. And so Tracy and I were involved in that because at that time we were heavily involved with the public services aspect and building and planning, and she had just come on board. So we were working together on that to see what other avenues we could find, and then how it could relate to building and planning was the static costs that Tracy's talking about. So
What do you mean static costs? Static means it doesn't change, right?
It's a one-time cost that maybe the water hookup for, that they would pay the cities for, or county services.
we were looking at, I don't know, tangible, maybe that's better, or more costs that are related to utilities. So like she mentioned, water, sewer, electrical hookups. costs that were set by the PUD or set by that jurisdiction for water sewer by local governments, something that we could say, okay, this is a cost that we can account for. This person's income eligible by federal poverty guidelines or percentage of whatever the board would determine. We were just really in the beginning stages of brainstorming
Yeah.
options is
Hopefully,
really,
some of the thoughts were on it, like, could you partner with Habitat in when they're building some homes and help with some of that,
right.
whatever there is to get those in, just to try to get, in my mind, home ownership is the big thing for me. And if we could partner with somebody and help, and I wasn't clear as to what you could all use that doc recording fees. We throw a lot of it out there, but if we could partner with a Habitat or something like that, or even
Cap.
Cap or Mr. Wood came in with a proposal. How do we maybe leverage some of those to create some housing that people can actually get into and work with?
And we kind of saw it as not, I know Mr. Wood had come in and he had it kind of a similar, I guess, that was more of a partnership and agreements. Ours would be really within, building and planning within what we could control in the county. We did have an opportunity, Sean and I met with Habitat for Humanity to recognize maybe some of the barriers that they were seeing for affordable housing within the county permitting process. And, of course, they were very favorable for maybe the permit side of things, maybe once a project was complete and it met XYZ criteria as established by the board, they could get a permit refunded based off of, those funds available. So the county would still be made whole through doc recording, but they would not have to pay that permit fee. Something we were trying to get creative, in some solutions.
Just to help people get into homes, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know I've been fond of the refunding the permit fees, provided the thing was built and usable.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But it also sounded like you were maybe suggesting that the argument being you cannot put housing here because there's no infrastructure. So can we use the doc recording fees to extend the water and sewer lines or something like that?
Right. We were really open to, that was one thing mentioned. We were very open to kind of at the board's direction, exploring some of those options.
The thing I don't like about some of the stuff I've heard is that we be picking winners and losers. With Habitat for Humanity, I think people are putting in elbow grease and all that. It seems pretty well managed. So I don't have a problem with that. But trying to build a community, Larry Wood thing, I still don't have it in my head how that is.
Yeah, that came as a surprise. I actually called Tracy because we were working on this behind the scenes to try to just gather more information. And then he had done his presentation, but we did not communicate with Mr. Wood at all. That was kind of his own suggestion.
So what's the next step?
Well, I think you're just asking if we're still interested in something like
Yes.
that.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
me personally, if you're asking me personally, yeah, I'm interested. I would love if we could partner with an agency like Habitat and that these people actually work and put and try to get them into homes. I'm very strong about putting people in homes. I think once they get into a home, a lot of things happen in the community's favor and in their favor.
As
I've
long as
told you before, I was part of that, only did a home or two up in that development of Castle Rock, but when you go through it, it's still there's pride of ownership. It's a good neighborhood.
Yeah, and the only thing I would make super explicitly clear is that works because somebody put their heart and soul in it and their elbow grease.
Yes.
Yeah, and so
So
if they're willing to do that, if we have the ability, I would like to walk beside them a little bit if we can. Sure.
yeah, I would think we'd be able to buy the lumber necessary or the shingles, whatever.
Okay, we'll pursue it and we'll
Yes.
start working more with Gina and Carol's group.
Yeah, I think council has it now. I think it's been kind of sitting with legal. So we just wanted to make sure before we pushed that we were still okay to do so.
Of
Commissioner
those
Weber?
things mentioned, I probably prefer Habitat over refunding the permit costs, but one could argue it either way. I just like people putting in effort to get something back. That's a lesson we seem to have lost.
Would it be advantageous to request maybe a presentation by Habitat for Humanity to just outline to the board what their general criteria is and their program?
I would love to be educated on that myself.
Okay.
If they'd be willing to do that, sure.
I'm sure they would. And they've actually been attending some of our BPAC meetings as
Yep.
well, Building and Planning Advisory, just as members of the public.
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be at, I've
That's
missed
okay.
the last two BPACs, but
We can have them at a workshop so that the board can be here. It'll be public.
We'll talk about you on Thursday then.
you know, you can talk about me when I'm there. I don't care.
I'm teasing. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Mike, you're 11:20,
Wow.
so
Time flies when you're
executive
having fun.
session.
Yes, I think I sent Kelly contract negotiations. We have 3 items under there, about 15 minutes, and then performance of a public employee. Sorry, thank you, for 5 minutes.
So we'll
My notes aren't here.
go
So
to an executive session for
15 minutes for contract.
contract.
negotiation, And then 5 minutes for performance of a public employee. And then if we have a second one,
5 minutes for
Or others.
real estate disposal. Or
Okay.
something like that.
We got all that? Okay, we'll do it.
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 10 minutes until 11:47. The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 11:57.
We're back from executive session. No decisions were made. We'll continue on.
Hello, Casey Hellam, Human Resources Deputy Director. One request is from Public Works, so they would like to fill the ER&R supervisor at step 2.
Do we,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve that request.
it's been moved. Let me check and make sure I don't get any hands. I see none. I call for the vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You, that's all I
Passes.
have.
Thank you.
I have some big shoes to fill today. Susan is on vacation, taking her daughter to Virginia Tech. School starts there on Wednesday, so she's on the East Coast. She has a couple items tomorrow on the consent. Abernathy Creek painting contract. You guys actually approved that bid award on July 18th. It's for $147,000, and the company is Marica Group. They're actually located here out of Longview. So they got they were the low bid at 147. Like I said before, you guys are already bid awarded, but it is on the consent for the paperwork. Tomorrow's the contract execution side of it. So she discussed that on a motion item. The second item is a vacation request. This is for an unnamed road off of Rink Road. The vacation came in from the landowner out there. You guys, I think she's talked to you a few times on different vacation for roads around here. That one there is, she gave me a memo, actually. This is the first step of a 4-step process. The first step is for the board by resolution that they receive the request, they intend to vacate the roadway, and they direct the county engineer to complete an engineering report. So tomorrow, you're pretty much accepting that there's been a request to vacate a portion of the road near Rink Road in Castle Rock. And then she'll go ahead and do an engineering report. The second step is to do the report. The third step is to set a public hearing. And the final step is to hold the hearing and adopt a resolution to vacate the roadway or deny the request. So
Okay.
tomorrow's just the first step in that process.
Tomorrow is just step one.
Yeah.
To take, okay, or to take a look at it.
Yeah,
That's the same place I went out to visit.
correct. It is.
Yeah.
Yep. I believe she's hoping to get this done by end of September, all 4 steps.
Yeah, I support.
It made sense when you looked at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The third item is a bid award. This is for our rock for the landfill. This went through Sean and purchasing, and he can give you a quick update on that. It's actually a motion item for tomorrow. It's on the agenda tomorrow on the motion side. I believe it might be your only motion item tomorrow.
Yeah, so this is our annual rock delivery contract for the landfill. Something we go out for on an annual basis. The low bidder this time was JL Stordahl for approximately $232,000. It's our normal process. We do about 6,000 to 7,000 tons annually of large scale rock delivery to the landfill itself.
It is in the contract for them not to take South Silver Lake Road, which is put in there a few years ago from the neighbors. So they do have to go, if Stordahl uses the Tower Road pit, they will go down the freeway and come up Headquarters Road and not take the cutoff road.
Yeah.
They'll have to use your bridge.
No, it's right before they're
Oh.
right before, like, quarter mile before the temporary bridge.
And the next up is the Tenant Way Electrical Services Contract. This is a on-call basis for both electrical and mechanical work at the Tenant Way landfill. This will be on the agenda. the
Possibly next week.
Following Tuesday, I believe. This is funded by the post-closure cost of the landfill itself. This mainly work on the gas systems, the plumbing and pump systems to handle leachate at that site. Normally, on an annual basis, we do between $20,000 and $30,000 of maintenance work at that site. Currently, we have a large job going right now that would have been covered under a contract like this that we went out for the bid. The on-call contract gives us the ability to have that quick turnaround time on any of the systems at that site itself. And
On that landfill, how's the budget doing and how close are we to saying we're done?
I believe we have 23 more years to go on that site.
Okay,
So we do have a substantial nest egg for the post-closure costs of it.
and at the rate we're consuming the funds, we're okay?
We are. We've annually been less than our estimated costs moving forward.
Do you know exactly what's the reserves there? Guessed.
I would guess about $7 million,
How much?
about 7 million.
Okay. With inflation, you just can't be sure. 23 years is a long time at
It sure is.
10% a year or something.
Can you give a couple examples of what the 20 or 30,000 like we would spend this year on mechanical stuff out there?
Yeah, so if in the leachate system has a number of pump systems throughout it to move it throughout the property and into Three Rivers for treatment. So that'd be, the pump itself, the material plus the labor to install that. Say if we have an electrical alarm of some sort throughout the system, they'd come in and repair that. Or
Got it.
the PLCs or motor controls or anything of that nature.
The gas being produced is cleared off or just let go?
Yes, that's a small flare system on site there.
Do you know about how many CFM?
I can sure find out. From my understanding, it's
But
quite small.
It is decreasing, right?
It has decreased significantly from the last time of operation.
And the Port of Longview, we're still in discussions, right?
We're expecting a offer. They said third quarter of this year, but my guess it's probably pushing to the fourth quarter. They're actually touring the site again with PUD about the polls this Thursday.
You're familiar what that is?
No.
adding additional lines to the rail lines, needing property from us. Pretty much where the old transfer station was at, the big metal building there.
Yeah,
So right next to Verizon Tower, I couldn't, off the top of my head exactly how many acres it is, but it's a few acres there. We have some monitoring sites. They need to be relocated. PUD needs to relocate some of their the main power lines through that area. So they're looking, there's still a bottleneck at the Cowlitz River at the bridge there because that's not getting expanded, but they want additional lines to past us through pack fiber, through the log ponds. So I think it's 6 additional lines, but the way it sounds like may be done in stages. I don't know if all 6 lines are gonna get done at once. It might be 4 and then 2 later down the road.
It's about half a dozen acres, if I recall
I think
correctly.
you're
and
right. It's a weird shape.
It's a long strip.
It's a long strip and it turns around the corner there. So I don't, I can tell you exactly.
And the thing about it, it will get used productively because it's part of the port's facility.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Mainly for
Fort does a
staging.
pretty good job down there, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they did core samples, they bored, they've been out there quite often, checking the grounds out. They actually were giving us offer last year, found out they had to do a NEPA instead of a SEPA. So they pulled that offer back and now sounds like they're ready to make a new offer to us.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
because Commissioner Morrison's exactly right. It's an unused area for us. It's pretty much, we did it for some staging stuff and hold some events out. I think the tire amnesty event is held underneath that building, but for the most part, it's vacant. It's challenging with the rail crossing right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had discussed at one point of putting the Camp Alabama equivalent
Yeah.
there, but BNSF was not a happy camper. Not that they had a veto on that, but they knew it would cause them problems. People doing stuff, dumping it on the tracks,
Yeah.
including themselves or their passed out bodies. It has electricity though, and it's got water. It's got roof.
Yep. Yep.
Anyhow, that's just a sidebar.
The next item, LT1 closure, we haven't closed it yet, but we had discussions in the office. I figured I'd put it on the agenda today. We closed that down. LT1 is near the Castle Rock exit 52 near the gun range. It has a separate gate system. A lot of people recreate out there, mainly off-roading.
oh,
A lot of times we close it down during high fire danger. Starting today, we have red flag alerts through Thursday with high temperature and winds. So we thought we might close it down this afternoon through Thursday, and probably reopen it Friday for the weekend because we're supposed to be back down to the low 80s, high 70s. So if you guys are okay with that, we'd probably just move forward, closing that down, signing it, and then also putting a press release out. Neighbors and fire districts are they're appreciative if we do close that down out there.
Yeah, is it you who makes the decision?
I don't know. In the past, we've come to ask you guys. I don't know if I have the luxury of closing it down, so.
Well, okay, so let me rephrase that. You come to us with a recommendation,
Yeah.
right? And you don't come to us with a recommendation you pull out of hot air. You actually talk to the fire districts.
Yeah, my recommendation and theirs would be to shut it down for the week. So I guess I'll just tell you guys, we're gonna be shutting it down. This is mainly to tell you guys we're doing okay.
Yeah.
And notification, and we'll do that in the future for you if that's the way you guys want to work that, Chairman.
sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the last one is a day of caring request. This comes from United Way. In years past, they've asked to us for a free dump pass or transfer station for free drop-offs there. Last year, we did about $400. They did about $400 worth of transfer station loads. That's not a huge amount, but they have about 500 volunteers to go do different projects around Cowlitz County. A lot of the time, it's mainly the debris pickup, or they might be landscaping, and it's landscape material. So they've asked if they could once again use the transfer station free for that day. We give them a different code. It's for 1 day only. So and I know it doesn't get abused. So if you guys are okay with that, that request does have to go through you guys because it's a special.
Yeah, I don't have any trouble
Okay,
helping United Way.
Yeah.
that's good. We'll tell them yes. Great, thank you. And then, yeah, you guys have asked to have Mr. Mallet here for an LT1 presentation. That's on the calendar, I believe, for September 6th. If you guys are, it sounds like Kelly and Savannah worked a date out that you're all going to be here. So I think September 6th is it.
That's for doing on a Wednesday, Kelly? Is that a night Wednesday? It's a day Wednesday?
That would be a day Wednesday because that's the first Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. That would be, I think, a meeting I would think would be heavily attended in the afternoon, in the late afternoon. I'm just throwing that out as a suggestion.
It would have to be in October then, if we would have all three commissioners here.
Would we be okay to do two if we could? Jim does prefer to do in person, but due to the acoustics of this room, it's not feasible for him and his hearing. So he actually is going to have to zoom in, and it might be good to do a crash course with the board first prior to going into a heavily attended meeting. So just a suggestion. He wouldn't mind doing it twice
I don't mind.
if you guys don't mind hearing it.
So
twice.
we'll stay on the 16th then.
6th.
On
We'll
the
stay on the
6th.
6th, and then we can also get put onto the October evening agenda as well. No problem.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's all we have for today, unless you guys have any more miscellaneous items. Sorry to keep you a little bit later. We had quite a list today.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Anything else?
No.
Okay. We will adjourn for the day. Thank you.